The thing that stood out to me was the Jets' defense. Should we be a little concerned in how much was this Haason Reddick wasn't part of the team yet? JJ.
I'm not looking at this as a Haason Reddick issue necessarily, okay. Jeane. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd watch that game from the Jets, and I'd say, wow, it might behoove us to go and get a guy who's been a double-digit sack machine in the building as soon as possible. But this is about the Jets' inability to stop the run. Christian McCaffrey did not play on Monday night. And I know Kyle Shanahan is a brilliant offensive coach, and the Shanahan way, going back to Denver with his dad, it's Mike Anderson, Olandis Gary, Alfred Morris. They know how to find running backs and get the most out of them. But this Jet defense, they got a whole lot of bluster. They got a whole lot of bravado. They act like and talk like they are one of the best defenses in all of football. And
they have been one of the best defenses in all of football.
They have. Jeane, they're good. They're very good. They're not as good as they think they are, in my opinion. I think they're a very good defense. And I think because the offense has been so bad over the last few years, there's kind of been this built-in excuse of, oh, well, we don't have a quarterback. Oh, we're putting these bad spots. And some of that is true, but there are also instances where this defense hasn't gotten a big spot. And specifically, last year, they did not do a great job of stopping the run. That's obvious. And when I hear the head coach talk to Troy Aikman, and Troy shared those comments during the game saying, hey, when we need to stop the run, we'll be able to do it. Well, from what I saw yesterday, we talk about a weakness, guys. I think the Jets have a lot of talent on the defense. They have a lot of star players on their defense. There's no getting around that. But at the same time, they allowed 8 consecutive scoring drives by the San Francisco 49ers. That's unacceptable. And I expect this defense to be angry and ticked off and play a lot better against the Tennessee Titans. But you're a championship caliber defense. I'm sorry. 8 scoring drives in a row is completely unacceptable.
Yeah, one punt on the first drive.
And Haason Reddick is he had Defensive Player of the Year votes a couple years ago. So would he have made a difference for the Jets? Yeah, probably. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's had double-digit sacks the last 4 years. I mean, you add him to this defense next to Quinnen Williams, opposite Jermaine Johnson, with Will McDonald working in there as well. Like, yeah, you're going to notice that. You're going to feel that. That's going to make a difference for this team. But the Jets did not lose to the San Francisco 49ers. And I don't think that Haason Reddick would have changed the outcome of this game because, as JJ said, the problem was that they couldn't stop a nosebleed on the ground. It was every time they turned around and handed it off to Jordan Mason, he was picking up 4 or 5 yards of carry. And the pass rush that I do believe is going to be solid for the Jets, to good for the Jets, to potentially very good for the Jets without Haason Reddick, they didn't have an opportunity to pin their ears back and go and rush the passer because they weren't looking at 3rd and 8s. They weren't looking at 3rd and 10s. They weren't looking at 3rd and 7s. It was 3rd and 2. It was 2nd and 5. It was 2nd and 6. They didn't know what was coming because the threat of the run was there. And then once they really established the run, it was play action, hit George Kittle. Play action, hit Debo. Play action, and go over the top of the defense. That's what hurt the Jets. And when the defense has to, as soon as that ball fake comes out and the defense has to pause and go, wait, that slows them down a tick, and that's going to allow Brock Purdy, who already has one of the quicker deliveries in the NFL, to get that ball out quick, get that ball out quick, get that ball out quick. If you look early in this game, the first 2-3 possessions, I thought the Jets generated a decent enough pressure and the defense was doing their job. Where things truly started to fall apart, it was a combination of not stopping the run, the 49ers establishing that run, working in the play action, but then also the Jets' offense inability to sustain drives, which again, the drop by Lazard on the first possession, the fumble, yada, yada, yada. At one point, I think the time of possession battle was like 25-48 to 11 for the Jets, and crazy. 7 of those minutes came on one drive. 7 of those minutes came on one drive. So I don't care who's on your defense, you're not going to be able to, especially in week 1 across the country after a long flight, your endurance is going to wear down at that point. But when it comes to missing Haason Reddick, I don't believe that Haason Reddick was the player that the Jets missed. The player who I believe the Jets missed, who would have made a substantial difference in this game, and I think potentially could have flipped this game, was the guy who's playing for the Denver Broncos, and that's John Franklin Myers. Because it is very hard to undersell how important he had been to this team over the last few years, as that ability to be a run-stuffing force on the outside of defensive end, then kick inside and be a pass-rushing presence on the inside. The Jets could survive losing Bryce Huff if it meant they were just giving those snaps to Will McDonald. What it is hard for them to survive, because they haven't figured out how to do it just yet, is when they had to trade John Franklin Myers because they couldn't afford to pay both JFM and Haason Reddick. They now don't have Haason Reddick. They don't have JFM, and they're trying to figure out a way to make it work. One of the reasons we saw Quinnen Williams playing defensive end was they're trying to use him now to fill that JFM role, a role that they didn't need to get rid of if they didn't trade for Haason Reddick. So the player that they missed, it's not Reddick yet. He would have made a difference. He's a dominant player, but they really needed JFM on Monday night.